Gotta help my dad with something. Oh shit. Wait, what? Oh. A dark truth behind drunk salarymen in Japan. Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't want to even look at the dark impacts of what's going on in Japan's underbelly, if you know. I don't want to be a douche. I already rag on Japan a lot because there's a lot of fucking idol culture and VTuber bullshit. Right? I don't want to fucking ragging on it. I already rag on it a lot with the whole idol cult. I mean, yeah, idol
This
culture
is
and VTuber
Japan,
culture.
but this is also Japan. What is happening here? You're witnessing the aftermath of Japan's nomikai culture. The word nomikai is formed from the word nomi, to drink, and kai, session. Put together, it means drinking party, and it's core to Japanese culture. But nomikai culture has a dark side, and these problematic parts have recently come under fire. To understand why, we need to first know what even goes on at a nomikai. Like seriously, what is happening to Japanese salarymen to come out looking like this? Well, we're about to find out. Welcome to the other side of the workday.
And of the rising blood alcohol level.
Like many things in Japan, traditional nomikai come with a set of rules. First, in traditional workplaces, if you receive an invite,
you could say that with
really
America,
should
too.
say yes. And I'll explain why later. The colleague who just invited you is called a kanji.
Oh my god.
They're the
What?
organizer who will call up the izakaya, the pub, to make the booking and
What you
rally all
want,
the
fag?
participants, just like how they did with you. Next, everyone arrives at the izakaya, but you can't just sit wherever you want. Traditionally, there are assigned seats based on hierarchy. The best seat is called the kamiza, positioned furthest from the door and reserved for the most senior person in the room. The worst seat, called the shimoza, is usually closest to the door, and junior staff members or newcomers will be seated there. This is because historically the position closest to the entrance was most vulnerable to
What do you
enemy
want,
attacks.
Fig?
Once
Why are
everyone
you
is
here?
seated, we can get the drink started.
You are down
Common courtesy
bad?
is to
What do you
order
mean?
something that can be served fast, like beer,
Why am I down
because
bad?
everyone only
Huh?
starts to drink once all
Because
the
I'm
drinks
wearing
have
a
been
hat?
served. After a short toast, usually
you
from
okay,
the most
dude?
senior person, the kanpai or cheers
Are you
comes out,
fucking retarded?
and so begins
You might
the
be
drinks.
fucking
Throughout
retarded.
the night, the
Maybe you should go back
kohais
to
or
school.
juniors must keep an eye on how full everyone's glasses are. Once they are empty or near empty, the kohais should read the room and proactively top up drinks for their seniors or senpai. So, as the night progresses, you start to feel the alcohol,
Might
but your
be,
glass
yeah,
keeps
I
getting
think you
filled
might
up,
be.
and
I
it's
think you need
really
some
hard
help.
to
I
say
think you
no.
need a
As
therapist,
Finnish
to be
researcher
honest.
Juha Partnen writes,
You
refusing
need
an
to
offer to drink is
reevaluate
bad
your
manners,
fucking
requiring
thinking.
profuse
Jesus
apologies if one
Christ.
really feels it necessary to do so. As such, sometimes it's easier to employ more subtle
Sometimes,
strategies
man.
rather than bluntly voicing out a no.
Why don't you go
Anthropologist
back
Harumi
and play your
Biku, in his
fucking The Last of Us?
1974 paper, describes
get
one such
fucking
way.
cucked by
If
Neil
a guest has
Cuckman,
had
okay?
enough sake and wants to accept only out of politeness just a little
Bro
more
is
but not a full
obsessed?
cup,
Uh-huh.
then before the cup is full, he must move the cup higher and higher to prevent pouring of more sake, whilst mumbling something to the effect that it is enough. A good Japanese host is not one who necessarily respects the other's wishes. He is more concerned with forcing his hospitality upon the guest.
Now you're just ruining my
Seniors
video.
or start the night once all the drinks have been served. After a short
Business
toast, usually
etiquette
from the most
101.
senior person, the kanpai or cheers comes out,
Oh,
and
yes,
so
the
begins the drink.
drinking-
We can get the so glass really feels it
The
necessary.
drinking culture.
It part so
Okay.
begins the drinks. Throughout the night, the kohais or juniors must keep an eye on how full everyone's glasses
I'll
are.
leave you to
Once
get
they are
cucked
empty
by
or
Trump?
near
Oh, wait,
empty,
what?
the kohais
We're
should
not
read the
watching
room
Trump.
and
Dude, what is wrong
proactively
with
top
you?
up drinks for their seniors or
think you
senpai.
do have some
So, as the
fucking
night
issues.
progresses, you start to feel the alcohol, but your glass keeps
Not
getting
even
filled
talking
up, and
about
it's
Trump,
really
you
hard to say
fucking
no.
retard.
As Finnish researcher Juha Partnen writes, refusing
my
an offer
God.
to drink
See,
is
this is
bad
why I
manners,
should ban
requiring
you, 'cause
profuse
you're just a
apologies
fucking
if one
retard.
really feels it necessary to do so. As
don't have
such,
anything
sometimes it's easier
interesting
to
to
employ
say.
more subtle
So
strategies
fucking
rather than
boring.
bluntly voicing out a no. Anthropologist Harumi Biku, in his 1974 paper, describes one such way. If a guest has had enough sake and wants to accept only out of politeness
I mean, I
just
guess
a
that's
little
what
more but
happens
not a
when-
full cup, then
when you
before the cup
become,
is full, he must
dented.
move the cup higher and higher to prevent pouring of more sake, whilst mumbling something to the effect that it is enough. A good Japanese host is not one who
Are you
necessarily
mad?
respects
Yes,
the
yes, I
other's
am
wishes.
mad.
He is more concerned concerned with forcing his hospitality upon the guest. He is thus prepared for the contingency of the guest attempting to refuse the offer by raising the cup. The moment he senses this defense strategy of the guest, he counteracts by holding the bottle higher and higher, raising the bottle at precisely the same speed as the guest raises the cup, so that he can keep on pouring sake. To do this, and to do it without spilling a drop, especially after both parties are intoxicated, is no easy feat.
They love
Who
getting
knew
drunk.
drinking could have so many strategies involved? This just goes to show how hard it is to turn down a drink even when you've had enough. Excessive drinking at nomikai has been linked to serious health issues, including liver disease, cardiovascular problems, and alcohol dependence. Beyond physical health, these after-work gatherings can strain family and social relationships, as
that sounds like in
employees
America,
often spend
too.
long hours with colleagues instead of being at home. These are just some of the well-documented consequences
I mean, we
of
don't
this
call it
tradition.
namakai.
And keep in mind, a lot of the employees they're drinking don't have a choice. So why exactly do Japanese people have to go? To answer this question, we have to go back in time and understand first alcohol's significance in Japan.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you really think about it, alcohol has been a big part of everyone's culture, right? The French, the English with the, right, all the wine and shit.
Alcohol has long
Alcohol
been
is
woven into
big.
the fabric of Japanese
It goes
culture.
way
In the
back,
history of the Kingdom
even
of
the
Wei,
Roman
the
era,
earliest known Chinese
right?
text to reference Japan, Japanese people were described as being
Dude, you
fond
can
of
probably
liquor.
write all the ancient
Sake, Japan's
civilizations.
most iconic liquor,
all
is
of them
believed
had
to have been
fucking
first brewed
alcohol.
over 2,000 years ago. Around the same time, rice
All of
cultivation
them
began in the region.
indulged in
Sake
it.
quickly became the drink of choice and took on deep spiritual significance. In religious ceremonies, it was first offered
Right, it
to
was
gods
the
before being shared
nectar
among
of the
people,
gods.
symbolizing a sacred bond between the divine and the mortal. During Japan's feudal era, alcohol consumption was marked by class divisions. Aristocrats enjoyed refined sake in elegant settings, while commoners restrained by poverty brewed their own and reserved it for festivals or special village occasions. These consumption habits would all change though with the industrialization of
Yeah, I
Japan
mean, it was-
during the
yeah,
Meiji
big
period.
part.
The
Big
rise
part
of
of
large-scale
culture.
breweries made alcohol widely accessible in Japan, and so alcohol became not just a ritual brought out for celebrations, but a routine. With greater urbanization, rural gatherings became less of a
Yeah,
thing,
then
but
it
its
became
spirit
more
lives on in modern-day
normalized,
Japan
and
through
then it
company
became a
drinks.
commodity.
Whether it's celebrating
Right.
the end of a year, the end of a
As one
quarter, or
does.
just getting through another week, drinking has remained a key way for Japanese people to connect. Speaking of connection, 지금 한국에 있어요. So if I wanted to connect the data here, 어떻게 해야 할까요? Well, UBG has us covered. UBG is an app offering eSIM data plans in over 200
yes.
destinations. There are so
Great.
many different options for you depending on how much data you need and where you're going. I'm currently on the 25 gigs Best Asia option because
Wait,
I don't know,
it's
I
an
might take a
eSIM.
sneaky
Okay,
trip
it's
while I'm
for,
here. But that's what I mean by flexibility. This plan covers me so well for multiple
that's
destinations,
interesting.
and you can also choose more or less data depending on how chronically online you'll be. UBG has
How
super strong
chronic.
coverage and
That's
is
a
the
good one to
only
put
app
it.
rechargeable without Wi-Fi connection or data, which is super clutch.
Yeah,
So you
this
can
would be
always
good
feel
for a lot of
secure when you're
people,
with
'cause they're
UBG.
chronically
Compared to
online and
physical SIM cards,
retarded.
UBG's eSIM is super easy
Well,
to
even
activate, so you
that-
won't ever
oh,
stress
I mean,
about losing your
well,
original
this-
SIM card.
there's
And
one
once you
person
land at
who
your
isn't chronically
destination, all you
online
need
and
to
he's
do
still
is turn on
retarded.
data and you're good to go. So for your next trip,
There's a lot of
travel
people who are
stress-free with UBG.
fucking not
Use my code
online
INEED to
and
get a
just are
10% discount or
completely
click the link in the
retarded.
description. Thank you UBG for sponsoring
This is
this
why they
video.
shouldn't
Now
go
that we have a
into
sense of
a
alcohol's
specialized
significance to
field
Japan,
where
we can start to
they
unpack
could lose
why
their
nomikai
lives.
culture is so
Because they would
prevalent.
just get
And that comes
themselves
down to
killed.
both internal and external factors. First, let's take a look at internal factors, what you want and what people want from you. I mentioned before that it's hard to reject a nomikai invite, and that's because in Japan, drinking is not just about the alcohol, it's about building relationships. That's because Japan's society is quite reserved. There are a lot of unspoken rules about what you should and shouldn't say. I actually have another video deep diving into what these rules are, so you can check that out later. But for now, just know, in Japan, people don't always say what they think, because speaking too bluntly will come across as
Correct.
being rude, which is socially inappropriate. This means
Yeah, in
people
Japan,
hold
they
back
do.
on their opinions, their thoughts, and how
mean,
they feel. But drinking
Yeah, I mean,
creates
even
a
in
kind
America, you can't. Yeah, even in America workplace, you can't be that blunt either. Like the shit I say half the time, yeah, you can't do that. And rightfully so, I don't do that. Holy shit, if I were talking to my professors like that, holy fuck.
of social loophole. When Japanese people drink,
Yeah,
they're allowed to be more
I
honest,
don't curse
more
in front of
vulnerable,
my
and say what
professors,
they
or at least
really
I try
think.
not to.
So alcohol creates
Right,
a
I
safe
try to
space
be
where we
a
listen
good human
and
being
we
in
don't
front of my
judge. Or, as
professors.
Partner puts it, the main purpose of drinking is the attainment of uninhibited sociability. As a result, the Japanese even have a word for
It's
this
just,
process
yeah,
of using
there's a
drinks
time
to
and a place
initiate
for
and solidify
everything, right?
relationships, and that is nominication, a portmanteau of the Japanese word nomi, to drink, and the English word communication. Naoya, a 32-year-old man from Osaka, says this is one of the biggest reasons why drinking is important to the Japanese. Drinking is one of the most important communication platforms. Alcohol allows Japanese people to express their emotions
that's
as well
why they
as
call it
opinions
liquid
more
courage,
openly in
right?
this rather socially regimented
it loosens
country.
your tongue. It makes
So,
you
if you wanted to
talk
get
more.
to know someone better, traditionally it would be done over a drink at
Start
a
talking
nomikai.
about too
Now, the
fucking
flip
personal
side, what
shit.
others want from
Christ,
you.
goodness.
These factors are just as important in
Too
solidifying the
personal.
existence of nomikais, and it's the Japanese work culture that reinforces peer pressure and a group-first mentality. You see, traditional Japanese companies operate with a very communitarian approach, one that emphasizes long-term employee loyalty, family-like work environments, and a strong
they have like a
emphasis on
very
seniority
family
and
community
hierarchy.
type
In this
approach
system,
to things.
drinking after work
And like,
isn't just
if you
encouraged,
break out of
it's
that
seen as a
mold,
vital
you will
extension
be
of company
labeled
life,
like a
as it
pariah
strengthens
or
the
something,
bonds
right?
between colleagues
Because
and reinforces
they
a feeling
do
of
talk
belonging
to right.
and
These
loyalty.
people will talk
Within
to
this
other
kind of environment,
colleagues and
Partner
stuff.
emphasizes that participation is mandatory
Right, it's the
if one
same
is
with America.
interested
Your
in one's career
reputation
and wants to get
right,
along
everything
with the
to you,
group.
in a sense.
Japan even has
If
the
you
saying,
lose your
if you want to
reputation,
climb the
you're
corporate
fucked,
ladder, you
right?
have to drink. Add to this the idea of lifetime employment being the norm in Japan in the 80s. So for the older generation, it was even more important to fit in because you'll be seeing the same colleagues for the next 40 years, which means you're going to the izakaya and you're going to drink. But it's not just about wanting to form connections over a drink or getting pressured into it. Several external factors unique to Japan have allowed nomikai culture to thrive. And that is the accessibility of alcohol, loose liquor laws, and Japan's exceptional tolerance towards being drunk. When we briefly talked through the history of alcohol in Japan, we talked about how alcohol is readily accessible nowadays.
It's the same
but you might not have imagined
the,
just how accessible it
states
is.
in US,
because in Japan, you can buy alcohol from just
booming.
about any convenience store, and they're open 24/7. You can even find alcohol being sold in vending machines on the street. The legal drinking age in Japan is 20, but most machines don't verify age. So let's just say underage drinking is a lot easier here than in many other countries. The casual relationship Japan has with alcohol is observed by Partner, who notes alcohol in Japan has never been regarded as a major social problem, and few measures against its production or use have been taken. Alcohol isn't just easy to get, it's also easy to consume. In Japan, it's legal to drink in public, so you'll see people sipping beers at parks, on the street, or even on public transport. Drinking whenever, wherever is not just accepted, it's entirely normal. Japan, being such a safe country, also ironically plays a role in enabling
that's why
its
we have a
drinking
lot
culture.
of fucking
Someone could be
drunk
passed out on a
driving
bench
issues.
completely defenseless
Right.
and wake up with all their possessions intact. People might
because
take a
people
passing
are way
glance at
too
them,
comfortable
but
with
Japanese
that shit.
society in general is very tolerant towards being drunk. Partner comments on how Japan has been called a drunkard's paradise, as the name created are to be humid and cared for, and most often this is women's task. This tolerant attitude is even seen in how law enforcement responds. David Bailey in his 1991 book says the following: police officers treat drunken people according to the general view that they are children and are not responsible for what they do and say. The duty of a police officer is to protect them from their own excesses. This exceptional level of tolerance and acceptance is also reflected through data. A 2013 Pew Research Center survey asked people around the world whether they saw drinking alcohol as morally acceptable, unacceptable, or not a moral issue. Japan topped the list, with 66% of respondents saying it was morally acceptable. The next highest was the Czech Republic at just 46%. The combination of all these external factors has created an environment where drinking in Japan is not only easy but largely consequence-free.
If you really think about it, police are first responders as well, right? Or alongside with paramedics and stuff like that. So if they're not doing their job like they're supposed to, that's really fucking bad, right?
Nomikai culture has thrived.
There to
Note
protect
the
and
past
serve the
tense,
public.
thrived.
Right?
because despite its deep cultural roots, nomikai culture has increasingly come under fire. In recent years, public attitudes have started to shift as the social pressure to attend these events and to drink at them has become entangled with issues around harassment and consent. Nomikai culture is such a big thing though.
Well,
Can
I mean,
this
it's like
practice
peer
really
pressure
change? Well, the
right?
younger generation has something to say about it,
but
and
it's on
they
a
need a
it's
drink
on a
to speak their mind.
right. It's on the adult level because now your life kind of depends on it since this is some of your job, right? Your colleagues from your job and shit. Well, I mean, in a way, yeah, it's a little bit more real.
For decades, nomikai culture was seen as just another part of the job, but that attitude is no longer taken for granted. As more women entered the workforce, issues of consent and harassment have brought the more troubling sides of the culture into sharper focus. Kumiko Nemoto, a sociology professor at the Kyoto University of Foreign Studies, comments on this shift. In the past, it happened all the time. It was part of normal corporate culture in Japan, but now it's seen as power harassment. This term, power harassment, relates directly to new laws introduced by the Japanese government in 2019 targeting employers. And these laws have greatly affected how nomikais are conducted and how much pressure there is for employees to attend. Mr. Katsuki, a 47-year-old manager, recalls how back in the day his boss or colleagues would ask him out for drinks up to 4 times a week, and there was really no way of saying no. These days, however, things are different. With stricter laws and companies taking harassment more seriously, he's much more cautious. Subordinates can always anonymously email or write letters to a complaint box. People are much more aware and prudent. This shift in how nomikai are viewed reflects larger changes in Japanese society. The idea of a job for life is no longer the default, and younger workers are increasingly willing to leave companies that don't align with their values. In this day and age, sharing a drink to bond with co-workers after work doesn't hold the same appeal anymore. This generational shift in attitude is clear in an anecdote shared by Takanori Sakaguchi, a procurement consultant. He recalls a friend telling him that more and more job applicants and students at recruitment events are asking whether the company holds drinking parties. To him, it was surprising that the presence of nomikai could influence whether young people wanted to work at a company or not. But these questions make it all very clear. Drinking culture matters, and for some young people, it's a deal breaker. Perhaps it's not that surprising that the younger generation is carrying this attitude into the workplace, because nomikais are actually not just big within the business environment.
I mean, this isn't just drinking culture. It goes to the whole business aspect too, because it's like, just look at the music industry, right? You need to build up a rapport. You need to build up reputation. Record labels and other musicians maybe to do and stuff like that, right? Especially if you're trying to make a name for yourself.
But also at university, especially in uni clubs. And just quickly expanding on this point, it seems like uni nomikais have gone through quite the transformation. Wu Yixuan, in his 2023 paper, interviewed 7 respondents who all commented on how they had heard or experienced at first uni nomikais being stricter in attendance and having a more hierarchical structure. But nowadays, attendance at uni nomikais are optional, and senior members often behave in an equal manner with their juniors. In addition, none of the interviewees mentioned feeling any pressure to get drunk at nomikai. The expectation to...
Are you saying people in their early 20s, mid 20s, or literally when they get into college, right? Those guys get into some crazy shit. Oh yeah, who would have
to drink heavily or to keep drinking when they don't want to is fading. Outside of drinking, different alternatives to facilitate bonding have become popular over the last decade, such as hiking, eating out, doing sports, activities that don't require alcohol to facilitate a similar kind of bond. As values evolve, so too do traditions. Nomikai will likely remain a key part of how co-workers and students socialize in Japan, but it's already starting to look a bit different. The more problematic parts of it, like compulsory attendance or being pressured to drink past one's limit, etiquette are increasingly being questioned. While business nomikai might take longer to change, university culture shows us that such transformation is possible, and with new laws and growing resistance from younger generations, after-work drinks might one day simply be just that. A pressure-free hangout with colleagues, not an obligation that stretches for hours multiple times a week. Drinking culture is such a big part of East Asia, and today we just scratched the surface with Japan. I'd love to do a deep dive into China or Korea next, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Thank you to my amazing patrons for their support, and don't forget to check out UBG using my code below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
The drinking culture in Asian countries. That's interesting, right? Like the Philippines, and you can say Malaysia and shit like that, right? Police pursue possible DUI suspect in LA. Oh shit. See, there you go. We were just talking about fucking drinking alcohol and shit. There's a DUI suspect. Oh shit. Damn, there's a lot of people writing like a fucking paragraph long goddamn. Yeah, no, I don't want to read. Writing like a paragraph long fucking thing. It's like, oh, why?